Red Pill Relationships number 22. Busybody protection for your relationship.
Hey guys, I want to welcome everybody to this publicly viewable edition of Red Pill Relationships. We're putting this out there for the whole world to see. We do these once a week, by the way, on a variety of different topics for our Patreon and Subscribe Star supporters only. We do occasionally put an episode out for everybody to see, and this is going to be one of those things. And we do this in hopes that if what you're about to see is appealing to you, if you think it's of use to you, then by all means, please feel free to come and support us on Patreon or Subscribe Star.
Yeah, and I'll scroll a list of the ones we've done so far to give you a sense of the kinds of things we talk about, because it's things you're not going to hear anyplace else, and it's perspectives you're not going to hear anyplace else. So come on and join us. And now on to the regularly scheduled program, Paul.
Hey guys, Paul here, and as usual, I'm with Tom, and this is Red Pill Relationships. Number what, Tom?
Oh, God, Paul, I don't even know.
I think it's like 15 or 16 or 17.
I was thinking
or
17.
It's somewhere between 14 and 85. So we'll stick the number on the screen and figure it out. Anyway, we're going to be talking about what I'll refer to as third-party interference in your relationships. It can come from in-laws, it can come from friends, it can come from even people your spouse or partner works for, their friends, their relatives. But it all boils down to the same thing. It's a little bit different. What's that, Tom?
Therapists.
Oh, yes, therapists, absolutely. Therapists are really notorious for helping women decide that he's the problem.
Exactly.
That's their stock and trade. That's what gets this. It's
about
him.
Crazy.
There's a little difference when it comes to things like in-laws. What we look at there is frequently when people grow up, we have a $2 word for this called enmeshment. When the family is enmeshed, when there's not much separation between a daughter and her parents or her siblings, when they're all involved intimately in each other's lives to a degree that's not healthy. What you find when you partner with somebody like that is, that old saying that it's not just her, it's the family. When they're enmeshed, you better believe it's the family. They're going to be right in the middle, all the way into being in the middle of your bedroom. This is what happens with enmeshment. Women having somewhat of a hive mind, also outside the family with their friends, will get out and their friends will convince them you're the problem, or a therapist will convince them you're the problem, or their people that they work with will convince. And if you find that the attitudes and opinions of people outside your marriage are intruding, or your relationship are intruding into that, then that is it's a sign your partner has very poor boundaries. Because a healthy relationship has a semi-permeable boundary around it. It means the couple can decide who to let in, who to keep out, where the limits are with what their opinions are going to be accepted. Like, most people would agree that, if your wife's boss wants to have input on your sex life, that's probably not a welcome thing. But believe me, there are people that will invite that stuff into their lives.
Yes.
And when they do, it creates havoc. So to put a point on all of it, that's sort of what we're talking about today. Tom, did I leave anything out?
I think you got most of it, Paul. It is a problem whether you're married or friends or girlfriends or a spouse or whatever. It's right there. And I kind of like to think of it like a leak. If you are experiencing this kind of third-party interference, it's likely that your relationship has a leak. It's like your partnership is not really firm and the boat's leaking a little bit, and so it's good to find that leak and work on it, see what you can do about it.
And sometimes that means you have to set limits. I mean, that I know I probably sound like a I'm beating a dead horse with this, but I really do believe that for men, especially, that identifying and living by their values is the most powerful thing that they can do.
Yes.
Is it in your values to have your mother-in-law or your girlfriend's sister have any say-so in your relationship? Should you accept a relationship where she has more allegiance to somebody outside the relationship than she does to you?
And that's what happens. That's
It is.
exactly what happens.
It's a very painful proposition. I've talked to guys that have been very, very hurt by this.
Oh yeah, man, it's tough. And what it goes back to is all the family of origin stuff, Paul. You know, because this is family of origin stuff played out in the here and now. Because we talked before about how, you know, usually there's two different cultures, her culture from her family, your culture from your family, and how between you and she, those things get explosive and blow up because they're very different. Well, when you've got in-laws, it comes home. And instead of blowing up between you and your spouse, it blows up between the whole family, you and your spouse. And it gets tricky. And I'll tell you, Paul, one thing that needs to be said is that men are vulnerable here because our whole culture blames men for just about everything, you know? And so it makes us more vulnerable to being the bad guy in a relationship kind of deal. And also when your wife, spouse, lover is enmeshed with her family, it also makes it very easy for you to become the bad guy. So, you know, watch out for that.
Let's not neglect also your family of origin. You may have come from an enmeshed family. You may have come from an environment where it seemed perfectly normal to not have boundaries, and perfectly normal. One of the, you know, the steadfast dysfunctional rules in many families is if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. In other words, everybody is pleasing mama, and if they don't, there's going to be hell to pay.
Yes,
it's emotional
they'll make
terrorism.
You pay.
And if you're used to that growing up, that there's hell to pay if mama ain't happy, and it really doesn't matter why she's unhappy, if it's her fault or not, you know, people have to fix this for her, you're going to be prone to instinctively want to fix everything that's wrong, even if you're arguing with your wife and your mother-in-law and your father-in-law and your brother-in-law and your sister-in-law, or all these extended family members coming into the picture. You can find yourself in a role of trying to placate that when what you should be doing is saying, hell no, we're not going this direction.
Right.
I didn't marry you people. Stay out of my life.
And how do you go about saying no, Paul? I think that's one critical piece that's really we need to talk about.
Well, I think everybody has to find their comfort level with how to say no, Tom. But the fact is, it needs to be said. I think that there is probably more productive ways than fuck you all, I hope you die.
Well, I was thinking strategically, you know, what I've found is with an enmeshed family or with families that are, you know, creating chaos, your best bet is to go straight to your spouse, just you and the spouse, and work it out. Do not involve everybody else, because the best immunity from something like this is a good connection between you and your spouse, lover / wife, whatever, and a solid sense of camaraderie between the two of you. You know, so your best bet is to build that with her, you know.
And yes, I agree with that totally. And you can explain to her, you know, one of the things that we tend not to do, there's a real wealth of information. As bad as the psychological establishment has screwed things up these days, there is still a wealth of information that's very, very helpful.
Right.
Relationships becoming and maintaining functionality. It's really great stuff. And you can perfectly well sit down with your partner, your girlfriend, your wife, and explain why it's really important to have boundaries around the relationship, that this is your way of protecting what you two are building together.
Yes. What's valuable.
You need her to engage with you to build that protection, so that, because these people are going to come and go, people are going to die. What you've got to live with is his relationship, and it's perfectly acceptable to sit down and explain what boundaries mean, why they're good for the relationship. Then you get into situations like, let's say a father-in-law says, I'm not going to have you, your partner's happy, your wife is unhappy rather, and he says, I'm not going to have my little girl being unhappy. You're going to treat her better than this.
Oh, God.
And then you've got a challenge there to deal with because she's used to being rescued by him.
Right.
He's enabled his wife. If mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. He's treated his daughter the same way. That's his little princess. Of course, all this stuff is dysfunctional as hell. It's
and what do you say to the guy, Paul? What do you say to this guy that says that?
What you say to the guy is, that's between her and I.
Yes.
This is not for you to discuss with me.
Yes, and you say it in the nicest way you possibly can.
You say it in the nicest way you can, but you say period at the end of the sentence.
Yes, because it's so critical, man. All of this stuff, one common denominator is they are trying to piss you off. They're trying to get you upset so you blow. And as soon as you blow, you lose. You lose. So you got to be really nice. You got to set the limit firmly. You got to say, this is what I want. This is what my wife and I need to do together, etc. But don't get upset. Don't even try not to even be, nasty with the guy. Just say it as calmly as you possibly can, because that's a win. And if you could say it calmly, it's a win.
Which reminds me why I'm so glad we have Tom Golden here with Paul Elam, because we get the reminders of how important that stuff is that you're cool through anything we've discussed on any of these programs, no matter what it is. Your cool is your best ally.
Yes.
100% will work for you every time, and blowing up will never work for you.
Especially for men.
No.
Women are given a little bit of a leeway there. She's just upset. Not for guys.
That's bullshit, but that is the way of the world.
Yep, that's gynocentrism.
So we encourage you, stay cool through this. And it's the same thing with your wife. You can sit her down, and when I say wife, so I don't have to say wife/girlfriend/significant other, I'm just going to say wife for this discussion. When you sit down with her, it is perfectly acceptable for you to calmly and with care, and I mean genuine caring,
right,
explain to her why you won't defend your actions in the relationship to her father. That this is not something you're going to do, that you want to work on and solve problems with her directly,
right,
because that's the only solutions you're ever going to get.
Right.
That you appreciate that he loves her and that he wants the best for her, but the fact of the matter is that's not his place in life. And this is something you have to lead. We talked a few times about masculinity in relationships, and that for me is an issue. Men need to lead in their relationships in many times, because you can't depend, sorry, I'm going to get in trouble. You can't depend on women to lead in a relationship. They're not cut out for that for the most part. Men generally need to be the ones to take it upon themselves to set the example, to make the rules, and to make sure the rules are followed, but they have to do it as a leader, not as an autocrat, not as a dictator. You have to be able to show in your leadership why this is the caring, correct thing to do.
Yes,
in
exactly.
many cases, women will get that. It may take 10 years of work in a marriage to get this across. If your marriage is worth it to you, then that's okay. Let it take 10 years. But just don't lose your cool. And make sure that you're the one explaining why what's healthy is healthy.
Yes, and it can be framed in terms of, this is good for the relationship. This is good for you and I together. This is not me versus you. This is something that's good for both of us.
Yep.
And
you may have to do it 100,000 times.
It's true.
And again, we always have the caveat, both Tom and I always have the caveat, that if the point comes that you're not getting anywhere, where she's inviting the father in and it's chaos and you're not getting anywhere, then you may have to rethink your options.
Bye.
And say, see ya.
Yep.
But understand, this information is not stuff most people are taught
That's
in
right.
their lives.
That's right.
If you, an adult relationship with an adult woman, her hearing this stuff from you is probably the first time that anybody's ever sat down and explained this stuff to her. So
Right.
it's going to seem somewhat alien.
Right.
What do you mean my father's opinion doesn't count here? My father's opinion has mattered in my life every day of my life. That's all.
He's God.
Yeah, he's God.
How can you fight with God?
And the answer is, you don't need to fight with God. You just need to make sure that God minds his business.
The answer is, our relationship is more important than that.
Yes, more importantly, God.
Well, there you go.
It's a hell of a way to put it, but but no, this is some of the most delicate stuff as it turns out.
Oh man.
The context of sorting through power struggles in relationships is where, boy, this is where you get to where the rubber meets the road, Tom, on
yes.
dysfunction, family of origin stuff,
yes.
and how you're going to sort it out.
Yes.
It's why Tom keeps stressing the being calm and collected, because it's very easy for you. My impulse is, somebody else interferes in my relationship, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my knee jerk.
And what would happen if you did that with the father? You said to the father, fuck you.
Fuck you, get out of my house.
Right. What would happen?
You've just ejected her family.
Exactly.
What do you think is going to happen?
And if it's an enmeshed family, she feels like you have just ejected her.
Yes.
You know?
And in a sense, you have.
Oh, baby.
You have to be the one representing solutions. That's
yes.
a good way to look at it.
Yes.
He's looking for maintaining his control over his daughter's life.
Right.
She's looking for dad to maintain that control. They're colluding.
Yes.
For lack of a better word.
It's true.
Against you in that. So it's natural to say, well, fuck this and fuck him, get out of my house.
Exactly.
I don't want you around here, which is a guaranteed failure for your marriage.
Guaranteed.
Yep. And so the thing to do in that is for you to represent solutions, to let everybody know in a caring way, look, this is what married couples go through. This is what happens. We have struggles, but what we're going to assert here is that there's a boundary around this relationship.
Yes.
And we want you involved. We want you connected.
Yes. And
but
to keep
decisions
that boundaries
like this are going to be made here between us.
To keep the boundaries strong, you've got to say what you want, and you've got to listen to what she wants. You know, and it'd be good for her to be able to hear what you want and to be able to listen to what you're saying also at the same time she's saying what she wants. That's a partnership. That's the way a partnership works, right?
I'd say that's pretty essential.
Yeah, it is. It is. But most people do not have that, Paul. They've never really even experienced the idea that psychologically you can connect with someone and build up a sense of togetherness, a sense of unity that can play out and make things easier. You know, you can ask her, what would make this easier for you? And that's after you say, what would make it easier for yourself, you know? But ask her, what would make this easier? When we visit with your family, it's tough sometimes. What would make it easier? And just get that discussion going, you know, and you can come up with some creative things. That way she knows that you care about her because, you know, she's fearing that you don't give a shit if you just told her father to fuck off. You know, he doesn't care about me because she's enmeshed. She's thinking you don't care about the father. So it must be that you don't care about her either. So
after all, why would you undermine the most supportive man in her life?
He's cared for me ever since I was born.
Yep. And if you don't honor, I mean, the connection between them may not be healthy, but if you don't honor the intensity of that connection, you're miscalculating.
And you probably saw it a long time ago. This is not something new. And so, you know, you just need to find creative ways to deal with it so that you and she can have a partnership.
Yeah, long about the time you figured out that daddy had to approve of you before she could have a relationship with
That's
you.
one tip off.
There's one real tip off right there. It's something you might want to be painted. And then there you are 3 years later saying, with daddy interfering, you're saying, God, how did this happen? Come on now.
Sometimes these situations are fairly easy to be able to deal with, if you can really hear what she says and she can hear what you say. Paul, I've seen situations before which were just blowing up in people's faces that boiled down to one spouse was really introverted, one spouse was extroverted. And the extroverted spouse expected the introverted spouse to be a part of the family, be a part of the celebration at Christmas, be there for this and for that. And so what happened that solved it was that, she found ways or he found ways to be alone outside of things during the holidays and come back in for as much as she could tolerate and then go back out again. So you find ways to deal with it. You find out what it is that's causing the trouble and go from that. Introversion, extroversion is often one of the pieces.
Absolutely. And another complication in this, again, is the basic, you've got to understand, people come together out of infatuation.
Yeah.
There's a chemical stuff going on, man.
Oh boy.
The oxytocin is just in high gear, and
Dopamine.
Endorphins, and you're running on pure chemical energy, and you don't see a fault in this person. They're perfect. You couldn't imagine your life without them. You're the most perfect person in the world, and they think the same thing about you. And of course, you're both full of shit. You're full of chemicals. It's telling you to believe these things about each other.
That's it.
What happens when that wears off? Then the power struggle set in, and then you become like two siblings arguing with each other over what's going to be on the TV.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
exactly what most marriages are for like decades sometimes.
Yes.
Two people fighting with each other over whose rules we're going to live by.
Yeah.
And if you're conscious of that and can negotiate consciously, thinking of your significant other and thinking of yourself,
Yes.
you have a big leg up on that game, because where marriages fail is where they can't get through the power struggles or
Right.
the family of origins. That's where they fall apart.
And I've seen it over and over again, Paul. The men tend to be concerned about what she wants and want to adjust to that, but they don't really bring up what they want. Men need to learn to say what they want. Because guys, if you don't say what you want, you're screwed.
And to be fair to the men, women need to learn that when a guy's talking about what he wants, they need to shut up and listen.
Amen to that.
And
yes, it goes both ways.
It's very difficult for a lot of women are like, what do you mean what he wants? Since when does what he wants make a difference? And look, they've been trained this way.
Absolutely.
It isn't like they woke up in the morning and had an evil laugh and said, I think I'll shut out everything he wants today. This is how we socialize women, that the world is all about them, that everything revolves around them.
And for thousands of years, that's basically what's happened in relationships, is that it has been all about her. She's been the quartermaster. She asks for what she wants, and he goes out and provides for it.
But alas, Tom Golden, this is red pill relationships.
Exactly. And that's why things are now switched. And the guys need to start talking about what they need. Absolutely. And not always jumping to what she needs.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you that this is the biggest heartbreaker. There's so many guys that I work with that are in divorces after 20, 25 years of marriage. Part of where they're at is they're devastated because it took 20, 25 years to figure out that they didn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. It really is. This is why the true value to me of red pills is that, look, you don't have to end up like that. And if you did end up like that, there's by God a way out of it for you.
Yes.
But this is very serious stuff long-term, Tom.
So true, Paul. So true. Yeah. I mean, and one of the antidotes is for men to start saying what they want. And you got to get clear in your own brain what it is first, because we're not trained to think about that, Paul. We're not trained to think about what we want.
I was just going to say that that in itself, saying what you want, isn't for most men just as easy as saying what you want. They have to figure out what they do want first.
Yes. Yes.
Men frequently don't even know what their values are going
Yeah.
into a relationship. They don't
Yeah.
know what they want. They think
Yeah.
going in, because they're infatuated, well, what I want is her.
Yes, of course. And to keep her happy.
Yeah.
As long as
And
she's happy, things are good.
But
And she's always happy, at least so far.
yeah, so far. But, there's
Yes.
a great line from a John Gorka song. It says, at first she'll seem like she's normal, but that only lasts a little while.
Yeah.
True story.
It sums it up. It sums it up.
But if it takes you, if for the first time you start thinking, what do I want? What are my values are? If it takes you 6 months to sort that out, that's fine. That's actually a pretty good timeline. If you've spent 20, 30, 40 years not thinking about what is important to you and what you value, then just 6 months to sort all that out and to have some values and desires in place, pretty good timeline. And if it takes a year, it takes a year. But the point is to spend time thinking seriously.
Yes.
What do you want?
Yes.
What makes you happy? Is it sex 3 times a week and hot meals? Is that all you
Yes,
need? Well,
that's
if
good
that's
start.
all you need, then that's all you need. But some guys want more than that. They want
Yeah.
somebody that they can take into confidence, that'll listen to, some shitty parts of their day. And if
Yes.
that's what you want to, you got a right to that as well.
And
But
you need to bring it up because it ain't
you'll
going to
never
happen
know.
naturally.
What did Warren title one of his books? Women Can't Hear What Men Don't Say.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And sometimes men need to spend a good long while thinking about what it is they have to say.
Yes.
And one of the things you may find that you have to say is, I don't want your father in the middle of our arguments.
Yes. There you go. Exactly.
And that's not healthy for us. And
Yeah.
it's not doing him any favors either.
Right.
These are complicated issues. And one of the things I love about doing this with you, Tom, is that I know that in the therapy world out there, men are not hearing this stuff from
Right.
almost anybody.
Right. Yeah.
What they're hearing is make the woman happy.
That's it. I've
They're
seen it
hearing-
over and over again, Paul. It's so amazing. It's literally amazing. How in couples therapy, most couples therapists, I shouldn't say most, but many I've seen, will automatically think about, what does she need? And why isn't he doing that? It's like the default. And I think she thinks like that too in some ways. And so does he. Oh, God.
I would assert that 9 out of 10 women that go into couples counseling do so with the idea that the therapist is going to be on their side to fix
Oh,
it.
boy. Oh,
And they're
man.
almost always right.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've run into quite a few very angry women in couples therapy who would scream and yell at me. How can you do that? How can you say that? La, 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 la. That's
Yep.
the truth,
I've had them get up and walk out of the office.
Yeah.
Hey, oh well.
And so it goes.
And so it goes.
Yeah.
And believe me, in a counseling session, it's not like I'm beating them over the head with the truth.
Right.
I'm being very kind and diplomatic, but explaining, oh, by the way, he has needs too.
Yes. Can you see his side?
Can you see his side of the
And
story?
it's as simple as that.
Never.
Well, yeah. A lot of times that's what happens. Women can't hear it.
Yep.
They cannot hear it. And men are not talking about it either. So it's a mess.
And if they're never going to hear it, guys, let that sink in. They're never going to hear it.
That's probably true. You were talking before, Paul, about taking time out to think about things. And I wanted to say one thing about that. And that is, guys, solitude is your friend. Solitude is your friend. So get quiet, go someplace very quiet, turn off the lights, shut your eyes, and just be there for 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm telling you, good things start coming to you when you do that.
Long enough to realize that solitude is your friend, because here's one of the challenges. Men abhor imbalance. When things are off kilter in the relationship, when mama's mad,
Right.
in other words, or
Right.
she's not talking
Right.
or whatever,
Right.
our instinct is we must fix this. We must
Yes.
get back to that balance.
Yes.
So we're not comfortable initially with solitude in the middle of that while that's going on, because we've got this lingering desire to have things fixed, to have them in balance. And of course, when things seem like they're fixed, then we don't need the solitude anymore because we're happy. The
Right.
thing is to walk through the difficult part of that solitude until you can find some peace. And so you can think about, just like what Tom said, it may be uncomfortable for a few minutes, but you'll get there. You will get to the other side of that.
Yeah, I would urge the men to do at least 15 minutes a day, no matter what, of just
There's an
solitude. Just bathe in it, because it is healthy for you. It's good for you. You get quiet, good shit happens. You know, it's free. It's free. Try it. You'll like it. You know?
And if you're uncomfortable alone in your own skin, that's telling you, here's a great opportunity to work on some self-improvement in life, because you should be comfortable
Yeah.
in your own skin. That should be a very peaceful place.
Think back to, when was the last time you felt comfortable in your own skin? And I'll bet you, if you went back to when you were a little guy, you know, you probably did feel comfortable, unless you're in a really awful family of some sort. But think back to when the last time was that you felt comfortable in your own skin. That's a good exercise, Paul.
Yeah, because I can promise you, if you get old enough, you'll be very comfortable in your own skin.
Yes, isn't that the truth?
Yes, it is.
That's the truth. As
That's where we
testosterone
end up.
goes down, comfort goes up.
Yep.
But Paul, why do men want to fix things all the time?
I think it's just our nature, Tom. We are creators.
Yeah.
We create things. We build things.
Yeah.
We repair things. It is our instinct to see something wrong in the environment. And it's not just wrong with the woman in the environment, but to see anything wrong.
And then when we fix it, what happens?
I think we feel calm and at peace.
We feel good.
Yeah, sure.
Man, I got this old car I work on sometimes. Getting this 10-millimeter bolt off of there is like struggles. Knuckles are all bloody. It's like, finally get the damn thing off. I go, yes, I feel great. I feel this rush that comes when we fix something, when we accomplish some task. There's a rush that happens in men that I do not think happens in women in the same way. I really don't. And I think they're finding now biologically that when we get that rush, it's kind of very similar to the rush that women get when they connect with others on a feeling level, you know? Therefore, guess what? Men want women to feel good like they do when they fix something. So men's wanting to fix women's problems is just, it's a matter of his wanting her to feel as good as he did, you know? And it's framed so many times by feminists and by whoever saying, oh, he only wants to fix things. That's bullshit. You know, it's bullshit. It's just that's what makes him feel good.
A few weeks ago, Tom, my garage was an absolute wreck.
And
And I spent all day for 2 days cleaning that garage out, getting things in order. And there's a big workbench at the front of the garage. I stained it. Get everything cleaned up, organized tools, put a pegboard up, got everything so that it was very sweet. And the feeling when I just stood there admiring the work when I was done was exactly what you're talking about. And to be really honest with you, I went back upstairs and I stayed there for a couple of hours and I had to go back downstairs and look at it again.
Yes, because it felt so good.
Because it feels good.
Yes.
It does feel good.
Yes.
Men want things to be in good repair. They do.
Yes.
It includes relationships, but guess what? Relationships aren't garages. They're not cars. They involve other people. And sometimes we have to let other people be broken so that we can get okay with ourselves.
Yes.
And that is a learned skill that comes with aging in men. But that's not to say that you have to wait to be as old and gray as I am.
Practice.
Practice that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've covered it, Tom.
Are we good?
Yeah, whatever number of red pill relationship this is, I really did enjoy the talk.
Paul, I think it's 20-something.
And yeah, maybe it is 20.
We'll have to look.
Anyway,
We're going to be embarrassed no matter what way you cut it.
we're going to put this one out publicly for the whole world to
Oh,
see.
that's
And I want
right.
to invite all of you who are watching this that if you like the content, if you come join us on Patreon, subscribe star, links below. We appreciate the support very much. Anything to add to that, Tom?
No, I hope you like it. I'd forgotten all about that we were going to do that. I shouldn't have said fuck so
Yeah.
many times.
Oh, well.
Oh,
I'm
me.
sure our audience will forgive us.
I think they will. I think they will. Because we know, Paul, that men
Are,
good.
as are you.
That's it. All right. Y'all take care then.
Take care.
We'll
Bye-bye.
see you.